From the front lines, 5 Colombian soldiers killed in combat with rebels from the ELN. Little rebel wounded, a 12-year-old taken from his family and forced to join the FARC, is shot on the battlefield and saved by Colombian army forces. Taking team spirit too far, fans of the Millonarios football team attack a fan of Team Nacional. And Miss Colombia goes to jail to teach inmates how to be beauty queens. Hi, everybody. From the RCN News Center in Bogota, I'm Brian Andrews. We're going to have these stories and all the rest of the day's events coming up next.
Your ad goes here. Advertise your company or product with RCN News in English, Colombia's first English-language internet newscast. Email Brian at bandrews@canalrcn.com.
Killed in combat, Colombian troops pushed into a minefield during a gun battle with ELN rebels in a remote part of Arauca. You hear a lot about the FARC, Colombia's biggest rebel group, fighting with the military in the jungles, but there's another rebel group at war here called the ELN. It's actually engaged in peace talks with the Colombian government, but perhaps word hasn't reached all of the ELN's troops in the field. The military says nearly a half-dozen members of the army were killed when they were attacked by ELN rebels near Arauca. The soldiers were on patrol near an oil pipeline called the Caño Limón Conveniencias, located in an area where pipelines have been coming under attack lately. The military troops came upon the ELN members as the guerrillas were laying dynamite along the pipeline. In the combat that ensued, the ELN rebels forced the soldiers into a nearby minefield. 5 Colombian soldiers were killed, along with at least 1 ELN fighter. Other ELN fighters were reported wounded. Now to the FARC, who's been going into some of the poorest villages in remote parts of this country near the battlefields and forcing little kids to join their cause. New evidence of this in Tolima, where the army rescued a wounded 12-year-old boy taken by guerrillas from his family more than a month ago. Colombian soldiers fighting the FARC found a farmhouse near the town of Cajamarca, Tolima. Inside, a wounded 12-year-old boy wearing a FARC uniform, armed with a shotgun. The injured child not too far away from the bodies of 2 other FARC chiefs who were killed in combat. Colombian military doctors gave the little boy immediate medical attention.
Our soldiers gave them first aid like regular human beings.
The little boy had a serious injury to his left hand. He told the military troops helping him that he was taken by a FARC leader from his rural home 1 month ago and forced into service.
Yes, the child was taken by a FARC commander with the alias of Alexander.
The 12-year-old boy was transported by military helicopter to the nearest base, where doctors were standing by to give him more medical attention. His condition required surgery, so he was flown to Ibagué. One local politician says it's clear the FARC is trying to force young people in Tolima to join their fight.
This is horrible and a serious infraction against international human rights.
Now the little boy is in intensive care at the Ibagué hospital. The government agency which monitors children and family rights in Colombia, called Bienestar Familiar, says approximately 29 children have been rescued from the FARC this year. Other stories making news from Colombia this Wednesday. A scare in the air forced an emergency landing for a flight to Bogota from Caqueta. The plane forced to return to the airport in Florencia because of an engine failure. There were 15 people aboard, and engineers at Florencia's airport repaired the problem, and the flight continued on to the capital. In La Guajira, strong winds in Alban, a small town about an hour away from Rio Hacha, damaged the roofs of more than 80 homes and knocked down trees. To Barranquilla now, carrying signs of protest, angry parents demonstrate against the school's decision to move classes to another building far away from their homes while the current school is under renovation. To Medellin, the Fiscalia exhuming 32 bodies from a shallow grave in San Rita y Tuango. The bodies are believed to be people killed by the paramilitaries and guerrilla. Buenaventura, the port is expecting a big visitor, one of the largest cargo ships to ever pay a port call there. It has the capacity to carry 4,298 cargo containers. And in Yopal, 5 people are injured in a bus accident when the driver loses control and veers off a mountain road. As the news continues, you've seen all this week the destruction to the seats at the Campín Arena here in Bogota. Sports fans tend to go a little bit nuts, ripping up things and getting into fights. Well, now Millonarios fans are accused of attacking a Nacional team fan. Our story from RCN's Efren Arce.
Hey Brian, today we have a crazy story involving soccer fanatics. Jonathan Ferro, an 18-year-old student, was stabbed by 3 followers of Millonarios, one of Bogota's soccer teams. They approached Jonathan nearby the Campín Stadium. They asked him for money, supposedly to buy tickets for the game. While they were talking to him, they noticed that Jonathan was carrying a bracelet and a necklace. Both were green. They associated the color with another team called Atlético Nacional from the city of Medellin. They attacked Jonathan, stealing his money and stabbing him in his right thigh. The truth is that Jonathan wants to become a police officer, and he was walking to a recruiting office near the stadium when he was attacked. And this happens just the day before a very important soccer match between Millonarios and Atlético Nacional. Let's hope that tomorrow we don't have to report a more tragic and violent story. For RCN News in English, I'm Efren Arce. Back to you, Brian.
Thanks very much, Efren. I'm Brian Andrews reporting from Bogota. We leave you on a much lighter note. Miss Colombia went to jail on Tuesday. Taliana Vargas visited the women's prison in Cartagena, where she taught inmates how to hold their very own beauty pageant. That's RCN News in English. We're bringing all of Colombia to the world.